In the last module, we started with sorting costs by a time period, service, or location. That's a good start, but we can get more granular with subscriptions, resource groups, and tags. Depending on the account type, a subscription is the root for cost information or part of a cost hierarchy. A subscription is an administrative and cost boundary. It's common for subscriptions to include a mix of services from multiple departments, projects, or business units. A resource group is a collection of services with a similar life cycle. It acts as a container for Azure services and is also an administrative and cost boundary. A resource group gives us a way to view a subset of costs in a subscription, but we can get more granular with tags. Tags in Azure are used to organize resources. Tags can be applied to just about every Azure resource. A tag consists of a name and value pair, and a resource can have multiple tags applied. Tags work for cost management by allowing us to filter based on tag values. We use tags to track costs, create budgets and alerts, as well as cost optimization. Tags are not just for cost management. They can be used to manage resources by identifying departments or resource owners, provide additional security by classifying data, and automations can target resources based on tags. One popular way of using tags to cut costs is by using automations to shut down servers with a test or development tag at the end of each day. Let's take a look at the relationship between subscriptions, resource groups, and tags when classifying costs. We've already reviewed how subscriptions contain resource groups, and resource groups are a container for services. Let's say we have two resource groups in a subscription, one for an accounting application and one for a marketing application. Each has a test and production web application. We can get costs for all services at the subscription level, or we can filter to resource groups. That would tell us how much the accounting or manufacturing application costs. But what if we want to know how much we spend on all test or production environments? By adding tags to the resources, one for the department, marketing or accounting, and one for the environment, test or production, we can set filters in Azure Cost Management to show the cost of resources with each tag. We can identify all accounting or manufacturing costs for these resource groups and any other resources with that tag. Or we can identify the cost of test or production environments. Spending time upfront to create a tag taxonomy of keys and values will benefit the organization long term. For example, with costs, how should they be classified? By department, project, or client? Tags could also be used to classify resources. Maybe we're storing data and we need to set a classification tag that identifies if the data is personal identifiable data, or PII, or non-PII. Or we could classify services by how critical they are to the organization, Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3. Each organization will have different needs that drive tag usage. Some questions that will help determine a tag strategy include, are there any naming standards in place that will be integrated into the Azure tagging strategy? Will chargebacks or cost accounting be used? Will this apply to departments, projects, or clients? Are there any regulatory requirements that need to be represented with tagging? Will tags be required or optional? Or will there be a mix of required tags and non-required tags that individual teams can manage? All of these are considerations for integrating a tagging strategy in an organization. There are some considerations to keep in mind with tags. Tags must be applied directly to resources. They're not implicitly inherited from a resource group. Most, but not all, resources support tags. Tags take effect when they're applied, and do not apply to historical data. And managing tags requires contributor access to the resource. Now that we know what tags are, let's move on to a demo and apply tags to resources in Azure, and then view costs by the subscription and filtering to resource groups and tags. To follow along, you will need to log into the Azure portal with an account that has the rights to view and modify properties on the Azure object. Please join me in the portal to get started. Let's start by applying tags to a resource group and then some resources. We'll start in the portal. From here, we'll go to resource groups. Let's add a tag to a resource group. Select a resource group. This example will use the resource group DevTemp. From there, go to Assign Tags at the top of the page. Let's assign a tag with a name and value. This is a test resource group, so let's assign this resource group the environmental tag of development. Under Name, we'll select Environment, and then we'll add the value. Notice the name environment was there, but the value of dev is not. There are already resources with the environmental tag of production. That's why we can see that as a value. To add the dev or development tag, we simply enter it into the value field. We can assign multiple tags. Let's assign a second tag of product and give it the value accounting. Click Save to assign the tags. Next, let's give a group of individual resources tags. Let's open up a resource group, Lab Client RG for this example. This is a workstation VM and all related resources. To assign tags to all the resources, we'll start by clicking Name, and then Assign Tags. If you don't see it on top, we can go to More and Assign Tags. Let's start by giving it the tag Environment. And for value, now we'll select Dev. The value Dev exists now because we added it in the previous step. Once finished, click Save. That will add the tag to all the selected resources. Let's review cost next. We'll start by going to Cost Management and Billing. Go to the billing scope for your environment. This example is an online services account, and we'll use the subscription. Once in Cost Management and Billing for the subscription, we'll go to Cost Analysis, and I'll create some additional room. Let's view the cost by resource group. If we go down to the rightmost donut graph, we can see a list of costs by resource group. Clicking on any one of those will change the scope. We can also set a filter at the top of the page to change the view to resource groups. We can add multiple resource groups by selecting them in the filter. That gives us a good overview of the costs by resource groups, but to view a subset of services across multiple resource groups, we need tags. Let's view tags next. Let's clear the filter and add a new one, tags this time. Let's select Environment. And notice we have the option for production, but dev is not showing. That's because we just created that tag and assigned it to a resource. Azure Cost Management will not apply the tag to historical charges, only to new charges. We won't see the dev tag we created earlier for several hours. I have some resources tagged with the environmental tag of production. Let's take a look at that. I know the value may not be that much, but it does demonstrate how we can view expenses specific to tags. Notice it also gives us the same donut charts below, scoped to the tags we selected. We can see the services, the locations, and the resource groups included. This demonstrates how to get a granular view of costs by resource groups and tags. In order to get the most accurate and granular view of costs, it's important to apply a consistent tagging taxonomy across all resources in the environment. That brings us to the end of this module. In this module, we reviewed the roles of subscriptions, resource groups, and tags in categorizing costs. We took a deeper look into tags and different strategies for using tags to categorize costs. Then we went into the portal to view how to apply tags to resources, and then view costs by subscription, resource groups, and tags. Thank you for joining me in this module. I look forward to seeing you in the next.